Hey guys, and welcome to Grooves of Motivation Live. I am Jermaine Morgan, and I got a quick question before we get started. Are you arrogant? I'm gonna give you a minute to ponder on that, so stay tuned. All right. Let's jump right into this thing. I am so glad that you guys are here with me today. Charles, I see you, man. Philly is in the building. I am well, and I hope everybody that's joining me is well this morning. So do what you do. Let me know what you're watching in the comments. Man, I'm super excited. I don't even have a real good reason other than the fact I am alive, but I am super excited to be here today. So yeah, we're gonna we're gonna have an interesting talk today. But first, we're gonna jam out a little while. I'm actually playing to, before I forget to mention what it is I'm playing to this, one of these jam packs right here. I'll show you on the screen. The one here that says Straight Gospel Volume 2. I'm playing to a track off of there called Joyful Praise, the track that I'm going to be playing. So if you're interested in learning more about this, I'll try to put that link. If I don't forget, I'll try to put that link in the description, as well as I'll drop it in the live chat while we're playing. So if anybody is curious about what track I'm playing, yes, this track is available. As a matter of fact, before I start, I'm going to go ahead and run this track. And I'm going to drop this link in the chat so you guys can find it on the website as well. Just a little island vibe this morning. I was feeling, I must be ready to travel, so I was feeling a little islandy, gospel island this morning. All right, so let me drop this link in the chat. Let me say this. I'm going to drop two links in the chat. So the one of them will be to the where you can kind of find the play alongs if you're interested in the what am I trying to say? If you're interested in the instructional, I'm gonna drop that link, and I'm gonna drop the specific link for this specific jam pack. It's 6 tracks available in here, so I'm gonna drop that link where you can find this specific jam pack. So you'll see 2 links. So will you see the Straight Gospel 2? That's the one for this specific jam pack that I'm playing today. So you'll see that in the chat. So, all right, let's jump into this thing. I'm going to get this off the screen. I see you guys jumping in this morning. Texas is in the building. Royce City, Texas. Ashley, good morning. New Jersey is in the building. BE, I see you, man. Music for Jesus. Madison, Georgia. Okay. Good morning to you. All right, so let's jump into this thing. Iowa, I see you. Robbie, I see you this morning. Who's that? Christopher Shepard, I see you, man. Floyd, good morning to you. You guys are coming in. I see you. remember that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, I forgot all about that. I do teach this whole what I'm playing here. I teach it on the instructional that I do for this particular track. If you're interested in that, some of this stuff I'm gonna play, I ain't doing on the instructional because I didn't go that far into it. I just gave you the meat and potatoes. Charles says this is timely. Visit a Jamaican church with a family friend this weekend. Service was lit. Yeah. Yes, sir. We're going to the islands today. Awesome, man. That's Joel. That's awesome, man. I am in the bus on my way home. Just finished work. Good deal. Good deal. All right. I'm gonna bump this up just a little bit more for my sake. Mobile, Alabama. Perry, Georgia in the building. I see you guys. Mr. Waffle said I'm riding around on my forklift at work. Sounds awesome. Yes, sir. Good stuff. I see you, Jamie. Hawaii in the building. I wanna loop this. I wanna make this churchy. I wanna make this churchy real quick. It's early in the morning. I'm gonna try to make this little section here churchy if I can. Why not? Kentucky, Paducah. See, we just stay on that, make it churchy. Amazing. It's amazing when you listen, the types of things you can bring out of the track that you're not really hearing all the time. But when you start kind of keying in on those things, you make them stand out or jump out at you that you weren't hearing before. That's the cool thing I think about playing live when we play live with people. There's so many moments. I try to tell musicians when I'm doing consulting and that type of thing, or working with a group or a band and that kind of thing, especially with churches. It's like, dude, you gotta listen. You gotta listen for those moments because it could be something that happens that a person just plays one time, but that's the moment, and you catch that, and you just kind of run with that thing, kind of like I'm catching this little piano line. Granted, this is a loop. This is a track. It's going on and over and over again. But I'm listening for those things that I can pull out and make a moment into it. And so when we do that, it's like the song just it goes a whole nother place, especially live. The song goes a whole nother place, but it takes really intently listening, trying to figure out, okay, what can I pull out of this, or how can I add to this? How can I enhance something that's already happening, or how can I highlight something somebody else just did? So that's a lot of times you'll catch me doing that when I'm playing, especially with loops. I'm listening and I'm figuring out, okay, what in that can I highlight to really make a moment into it? Even with the chord substitution stuff, where you, instead of going to one every time, we might go three and dig into other stuff. So I'm always personally trying to listen to see, where is this thing wanting to go? Let the music go where it wants to go. Where is it? What do you feel it pulling you to, and not being locked in? Okay, it's just doing this and I'm bored with it. When you find yourself getting bored with it, that's probably because you've stopped exploring. You just got over it, and you're ready to go on to something else. But a lot of times there's so much stuff we can find within one groove when we stay there for a little while. So if I want to just bring up the guitar in there, I'll just double it. So one guitar is doing that. You got another guitar that's giving me some Johnny DeVos lines. Something like that. And all of that different stuff, you literally can add it to your bass line, but not overstep the guitar player. So like, it's so many different things happening in there. You just literally have to, with your ears, you have to go in and pull out all of that stuff. Even when it comes, for me, down to the drums, pulling stuff away from, I'm like, I always pull from the drums, because it's always going to be something there that the drummer is doing rhythmically that I can add to my right hand, or the way I'm interpreting what I'm hearing, and I can pull all this stuff away from drums and just drop it right in that groove. Charles says, didn't even hear that other guitar part until you just played it. See, all of that stuff is there, and there's so many things happening. It's easy to kind of get lost in the sauce, and you're not really listening for all those things, but it's all there. It's all there in the music all the time. Like, check out those steel drums. So it's going like this. Watch how it jumps out at you. It's a different rhythm. Jumps out. what can we hear with these drums? So what you're hearing me going in and out of these rhythms, I'm literally mixing all of these different things that I'm hearing from each element of, like, with this track, from each element that I'm hearing. I'm pulling one thing, I'm pulling what the piano is doing, I'm pulling what the drums is doing, I'm pulling that guitar, and I might jump around even with the steel drums, because there's so much rhythmically happening there. I'm pulling all these things when I want to add something to the groove. Of course, we know there's sticking to the meat and potatoes of the groove, but we don't want to move. You know, we just keep it simple. Let everything breathe. I'm gonna say this now. I ain't paying for your cruise. Some of y'all thinking about going on a cruise after hearing this. I ain't paying for your cruise now. I ain't responsible for that. Listen, you got inspired, but I ain't responsible for your cruise bill. So, I know I'm thinking about it. It's like you're thinking, you hear this groove and you're thinking about a cruise ship or somewhere on an island somewhere, and it just really takes you away. So yeah, it's really fun groove to play. That's why I want to play it today. So hopefully you guys are really, really enjoying this. I know I'm enjoying playing. All right, let's do another pass at the whole thing. We done stayed there for a little while. Let's do a whole another pass and get out of here. All right. To stay there for a little while. It got a little something on it. Hold on. Y'all know me. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me stay there. That's where it's at. When we go to that 6, something happening there in that 6. Let's go there. Let's loop that. See, you got to be listening for this stuff to see where your moments are happening at. All right, right there. We're going to play with that. let's extend it. Let's extend it. It's a little longer. Let's go to 4/4 bars instead of 2. I gotta try it again. And what I love with this, I'm using this track in the DAW and with looping these sections like an idea that I'm trying to work through. I know it doesn't replicate a real band when I'm doing like these jam tracks. And by the way, if somebody came in late and wondering what I'm playing to the Straight Gospel 2, and it's like the third one, the red and black one. And the name of this track is called Joyful Praise. And like I said, what I'm liking with when I'm working with these tracks, I'm able to kind of loop a section. So if I'm trying to work through an idea to see how I can work through a transition, because I had somebody hit me up just yesterday who was trying, well, several people hit me up yesterday, but somebody specifically that was working through the scales and all these different types of things and trying to figure out, well, I don't know how to necessarily apply them. That's the thing. We take stuff like this and all these little pentatonic scales and licks and all these different things that you're working on. If you can't find the application of how they fit in the groove, it's just like having a really big, nice tool set and you don't know how to use any of the tools, or you don't even know how to change a flat. And you have like this big, I don't know what it is now, but it used back in the day, it used to be like the big red Sears Craftsman toolbox. And it's like that joint is plush. You got every tool you can name in there. But if you can't take a lug off, it does you no good to have all those tools. So one of the great things I love about using these tracks is like you have, or any track for that matter, that you can drop in and just kind of play with the placement of where you're trying to put something at. So here where I'm doing this little move, trying to figure out how I want to work it into my groove. I see what works, see what doesn't work, see what I need to add, see what I need to take away. I keep missing and want to go somewhere else. But if I keep working at it, it'll land every time. Now, if I wasn't on this live, I'd be done landed this thing 10 minutes ago. So that's the thing I'm saying. You keep working at it, it'll come to you. Right there, I found something that I felt good about, but I can also go in there and create a variation. Like, okay, I felt good about that, but what other way can I flip that and it still feels similar, but it's a slightly different thing. So I'm getting more than one usage out of that riff that I played. So let's figure out another way I can use it. All right, so you hearing what I'm doing. I don't even know why I'm talking about all this today. I'm giving y'all like a straight bass lesson, and I generally don't do that here. All right, so let me go back through some of these comments. All right, Charles said this is low key a masterclass, sir. I'm learning a lot right now about what to play within the duties as a bass player, and that's the idea of it, Charles. Man, is these types of things, and as you're seeing, I'm not making this super deep. I'm just using this as an opportunity, even myself. Like, okay, what can I put in this? What can I leave out of this? How does the groove feel when I'm playing less? How does the groove feel when I want to be more aggressive and add more? Because I know we got the whole running thing, less is more, less is more. But sometimes you're in situations, and Charles, I know you're in situations as a bass player, and you want to play less. You're thinking in your mind, less is more, and the music director is nah, more is more. Like we we want more. We want you to do more, but sometimes we've been so locked into that less is more idea, we don't know how to come out of our shell now that somebody's actually demanding more. So now you're on YouTube trying to find stuff, but the problem is you don't know how to put it in application. It's like, okay, I know how to work in this rock groove, but I don't know how to work across the board in any other thing that I play. So these types of things like this allow me the opportunity to try out what's working, what's not working, to analyze how is it feeling. Because at the end of the day, it got to feel good, right? It has to feel good. I think a lot of us get the technicality of playing, and I've seen it with a lot of students, or I've seen it with a lot of instructors online. We get the technicality of how stuff sounds and making sure it's super clean, but it doesn't have any feeling to it. At the end of the day, the notes can be sloppy as far as I'm concerned. Now, is that my goal? Absolutely not. I'm not going for sloppy bass playing. But at the end of the day, it can be sloppy, but if it feels right. And the reason why I say, here's my context for that. If you go listen to a lot of that old school music back in the day, a lot of it was very clean and polished, but a lot of that stuff was sloppy. It just felt right. A friend of mine, I don't know if he's watching this morning, but a good friend of mine, Zeke, amazing songwriter and pianist and song arranger and all this kind of stuff. So I'm recording some guitar stuff for, he has a Christmas record that he's working on. So I'm recording some guitar, and we're just talking back and forth about the difference in the feel and how stuff was polished. And he was telling me kind of like, the difference between the Count Basie band versus the Duke Ellington band, and how Duke was a little bit more raw and gritty versus Count stuff was a little bit more polished. And those guys, you've seen them on a lot of stuff, but when it came down to feel, that feel was like unmatched. When it came to Duke stuff, it was just raw grit. It just, some of them notes wasn't as clean as they should have been, but you couldn't take anything away from the feel. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we want. People are hearing you, and they're hearing the perfection that you have, but are they feeling anything from what you're playing? So you have to make sure that you, in all of your perfecting, trying to get your speed and working with your metronome and all that stuff, we don't lose the essence of how the music feels. So yeah, so I don't know. Again, I don't know where all that come from, but there it is. Infamous. Can I get a free bass? Sure, man. I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna work that out though. I might have to, figure out some Infinite, we're gonna have to we have to pray about that one. Mr. Waffle says that's where I'm at, trying to figure out scales and such. A little overwhelming sometimes. Yeah, it's like I'm learning not to major in the minors, especially as a player. Don't major in the minors. Like, as soon as you learn a scale, begin working on implementation, right? Whether it's a pentatonic scale, whether it's a major scale, Neapolitan 6 chords, all that theory stuff that we learn. You don't really need to learn more stuff. Most of the time, I heard a good friend of mine, Adam Nitty, says this. He said, most of the time, we don't spend enough time working on polishing the stuff that we know and making sure we're able to get in and out of that stuff. And like, we really know the stuff that we know. Like I do this with like my coaching calls. Most of my students who are like intermediate going to advanced, I'm like, all of us have our go-to licks. We all have a go-to lick. I even talk about this in my monthly membership lesson, but we all have that go-to lick that we like to use. But the problem with most people is they don't explore their go-to lick. They find one, at tops, 2 ways to play that go-to lick, and that's all they do. And if they can't find the song or the groove or whatever that lick will work in, then I can't use that in this song. Yes, you can. You just have to be more creative with that one lick. We literally I did a coaching call with somebody not too long ago, and it was a lick that they played, and I literally on the call within 10 minutes or less, probably 5 minutes, found like 8 different ways to play that one lick. 8 different ways to play that one lick or that one riff or that whatever you want to call it, that one run. 8 different ways to play it. And so when I figure out, even with finding different ways to play it, that's even like, let's alter this note right here. So if we're doing, let's see here, just regular major pentatonic. We keep it simple. Like finding different ways to alternate that. And I know that's like using the different shapes of the pentatonic. Here's a tip for you people who are not super technical and the idea of theory scares you. Stretch beyond what you're here. Like, you know that sound. Okay, how can I take that to the next level? Right? Right? We're taking that same line. We're just taking a major pentatonic and finding the different starting points. Now, I'm using the different shapes of the pentatonic. I'm still landing on that one. Here's the other thing. I don't have to land on that one every single time. I can find a different note to land on if I want to. But I got to know what that scale sounds like. And I feel like if you can get the sound of that scale under your hands, getting the shapes and all these different, that's great if you learn all of that. But if you can recognize what that sounds like, it gives you a lot more freedom across the fretboard when you're playing, like when I'm playing and I'm taking a solo, I'm on a gig or something like that. I ain't finna sit here and think, okay, what's the 5 shapes of the major pentatonic, and I don't sit here and think of all that stuff. I got it in my mind what I'm trying to say musically, and here's the context for it in speaking. How many times when you speak to people and you're having a conversation, are you thinking about prepositional phrases, thinking about the alphabet, thinking about how many different words how often do you do that when you're speaking to somebody? Or do you just use the information that you have and you just have a conversation? And I think so many of us musically, we make it so deep because for one reason or another, we feel like we have to be super educated in order to have an intelligent conversation. And you don't. You just have to know what you're talking about. Have to be educated on the subject enough to put together a really good sentence to say what you need to say. So now if you want to take a solo on anything, I've been just practicing the groove, but let's see if I could take a solo on this groove. All right, let's see here. Let me find a different section. Make it simple for myself. Okay, here we go. Okay, it looped too quick. So I'm just trying to give you an example of like just being able to, I'm ripping, but give you an example of just being able to put together a sentence. I know where it's going. know it's going. And the other thing I've learned that you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush. I'm kind of rushing through it right now to make a point, but you don't have to rush to get your ideas out. Allow the chords to be outlined. And I do a lot of talking about this stuff in a training that I do. Shameless plug. If you want to know more about that, just ask me and I'll tell you how. But like, allow the chord to be outlined before you try to rush in and have something to say. Understand the context of what you're talking about, in other words. So here, I'll take my time and find out what I need to say over this. So you can get through it and still play a decent solo without sounding like you're a virtuoso. I know I played a lot more stuff than the average person, but I'm saying, like, don't make it deep. It's about communicating. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about playing solos and that type of thing. And I'm like, don't overthink it. It's literally your interpretation of what you want to say. You're communicating. So what you want to say, that's your opinion. And you speak based on what you know. Now, depending on how much you know, that's going to determine how much you have to say. And of course, you want to add more to your vocabulary and be able to form really good sentences. And that's going to take practice and working and listening. One of the things the examples that I use, I said, my now 9-year-old son, I said, if me and another guy was in a coaching call, I said, if we have this conversation one time and my son happens to walk in on this conversation and he listens to what we're talking about, he's going to have very little to say concerning the subject because he don't know a lot about this particular subject. But however, if he sits in with us for the next 3 weeks to a month, then I'm pretty sure he'll have a lot of insight to put into this conversation. Simply by sitting in the room and absorbing and listening to what we're talking about, he'll get context. He'll get a lot of things that he didn't know before. So now when he hears us talk again, he'll have a contribution that makes sense to add to the conversation. He'll be able to sit and hold a conversation with us at 9 years old simply by listening. But I think what we do as music people what we don't do enough is we don't listen enough. We're so busy trying to do, play. I want to do my thing. You don't have a thing yet. You have to listen and make sure you have proper context as to what it is you're trying to say so that you don't sound silly when you do speak, right? So it's like, what's the thing? It's like, it's better to remain silent and be thoughtful than to speak and remove all doubt. So sometimes just being quiet, you can have the perception, or just having fewer words. Like, I don't know a lot of the eloquent language that the jazz players do, but I do know how to say this right here in this groove. still a good solo, in my opinion, because I didn't try to sell something that I didn't know. It's just taking in consideration, if that was all that I knew, don't try to oversell something like you know more than what you do. Like, say what you say, mean what you say. Quality over quantity. So the quality of the notes that you're playing as opposed to the quantity of how many notes you can jam into a particular solo. If you're saying something that's really good, it's like amen. If somebody just made a good point, saying amen to what they just said, you said enough. You don't have to keep trying to act like, oh yeah, well, when you do the antithesis, hush. Just if I made a good point, just say amen and let's move on to the next thing. You don't have to act like you know more than what you know. And that being said, that's to me a good transition space to get in what I want to talk about today in terms of man, I spent a lot of time talking about this groove today. That I didn't intentionally mean to do. Let me see a few more of these comments before I jump into this next piece though. Are you playing active or passive 5-string? This one is active. Beautiful track. Love how you pulled the 6 out. Thank you. I'm trying to think of which one are you talking about. You're not talking about this one today. You talking about the 5? Or you might be talking about something different. I'm working from home today, so I had to grab my bass real quick. There it is. Grab that bass. Jeffrey, I see you. Jeffrey Boyle. Mr. Waffles, I've been playing by ear for 10 years in church. I'm a pastor's kid, PK. So I got thrown on the bass, and I was never taught theory or skills. Join the club, man. I know what that's like, but the internet makes all of that so easy now to go and just simply learn. Now the thing is getting direction as to what you should be learning. That's the tough part, Mr. Waffle, if that's your name, is figuring out, okay, what should I be learning? Because there's such a wide variety of stuff. Here's a lick. Learn this. If you learn this, you're gonna be great. If you do, like, it's so much information. So even with what my site has done, even with these jam pack, I've concentrated a lot of this information so that you know exactly what to focus on and how to apply and all this kind of stuff. So I know it's a lot of stuff that, we just don't know, and we don't know where to go. And too much information could be a bad thing because you get lost, you get overwhelmed, right? Holy Spirit TV, I see you. Says, I appreciate that. How long did it take you to play the bass? Cause I'm a Christian and I want to play with my brothers up there with them, and they've been waiting, and I really want to really be focused on this. So have you started? That's my first question. Have you started? I would say first things first, pick up a bass and get started. Mark, I see you. You said I became a monthly member. I got you. I just didn't recognize the Mr. Waffle. Got you. So, yeah, Infinite Rage. I know that's not your name, but I would say first and foremost, you want to just pick up a bass and start playing. I had somebody ask me not too long ago about lessons, and it was a different instrument. It's like, I think they want to play the piano, and they're waiting to get some lessons. I said the best thing to do is get a keyboard or something and just get started. So first things first, start playing. Start playing. Get something in your hand and start playing. Start figuring it out. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. And I know the whole thing, well, I don't want to learn a whole bunch of bad habits, but you do want to learn something. I got a philosophy, a little bit of something will beat a whole bunch of nothing. So if you get started doing something along the way, if you don't get too far gone, we can correct whatever, what I'm saying? You want to start the right way, and you want to do all that stuff. As a matter of fact, shameless plug, I do have a beginner basics course. If you want to get started, I don't know if y'all can hear that ding, but it's loud in my ear. But I do have a beginner basics course. If you guys want to get started learning the bass and all this kind of stuff, I'm seeing several comments today. People want to get started playing that kind of thing. I will show you from beginner to getting you going to getting started on this thing, so that you can kind of know what you get into. Because I know, man, put this thing in my hand, I don't know what to do with it. Well, we can get you going there. So simply visit JermaineMorgan.net and check out my courses. And matter of fact, I'm gonna do you one even better. I'm gonna drop this, since we here. I'm gonna drop it in the the chat so you can see where to go. I don't want you saying I ain't know where to go when I got on your site. So I'm gonna help you out. So anyway, pick up a bass, start playing. Even if you're taking a beginner course with someone else, if you're taking beginner lessons with someone, don't wait on those people to always give you the next thing to do. It's going to take initiative. It's going to take a lot of initiative, because getting started is going to take so much momentum to get off of the ground. I think about, I heard, I want to say it was Myron Golden. He was talking about momentum, getting enough momentum to get off of the ground when you start something new. Like when a plane is trying to take off, it takes a whole bunch of speed just to get it up off of the ground, because if you don't get enough speed going just to get started, then you'll never start. You jump up and that joint will come right back down to the ground. If you're not careful, you'll crash on the runway. If you don't put enough energy, if you don't put enough momentum, if you don't put enough speed behind getting started. So first thing, you have a need for speed when you're getting started. There is a need for speed. You need to get on it if you're a beginner, especially the older you are, because sometimes when we're older, it's a little harder, not difficult, not impossible, but it's a little more harder for us in our older age to kind of get stuff and retain it, because we already have so much information there. Whereas a kid, that's a blank slate. They ain't got nothing stopping them. And it's like they could sit there and absorb anything and just learn. But with us being older, we have to get some momentum behind what we're doing, and we have to get some speed behind what we're doing, because we want to make sure that we're able to get off the ground. Now, once you get up to a certain point, then of course you can just chill back, unbuckle your seatbelt. They can bring the food around and you can chill for a second, but you can't do that until you get over that initial thing, breaking through the atmosphere, so that you can get to the point where you can float. But if you can't ever break through that atmosphere because you don't have enough speed, you don't have enough momentum going, because you're waiting on somebody, nah, doc, you got to go. You got to go with what you have, right? All right, so Sergio says play shouting music. All right, let me go back. Kevin says, I picked up the bass in July of last year, and I love it. Awesome, man. Keep going. Keep going with it. PKs sometimes get the tough end of church, especially when it comes to music. Oh, yeah. Just being thrown in the driver's seat. We need somebody to do this, and you're here. So, oh, well, congratulations. You're the one. All right, so let me transition real quick, and hopefully I won't be here too long, but just want to check the house. The question that I asked when we got started this morning, how many of you guys are arrogant? Don't everybody raise your hand at once. How many of y'all are arrogant? And I know nobody would just volunteer and say, hey, I'm arrogant. But the thing is, sometimes we have to really, really be careful that we don't give off that arrogant nature. And the thought for today, I put up a post. If you follow me on Instagram, if you're not following me on Instagram, it's J Morgan Bass, at J Morgan Bass on Instagram. You can simply follow me there. But I put up a post this morning talking about remaining humble. I was using a reference from a scripture that I read in my devotion this morning. I think it's 1 Peter 5:6. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, so that he may exalt you in due time. Forgive me if I misquoted it. I don't have my app open right here. But anyway, so I was using that for a thought, and it's like, I notice, and I've noticed this for years. I see you, Ryan. So I noticed this for years, that a lot of musicians start off really, really humble, but once they get to a certain, especially younger musicians, once we get to a certain level in our playing, you see that ego starts to get big, our head starts to turn into a balloon full of helium, and we start floating up a little higher than we need to. And I've seen that time and time again. And the higher that I see musicians go in their careers, you get recognized, you start playing for this artist, you get a placement on this track, you get this accomplishment, you get this award, you get nominated for this, you get nominated for that. And it's like that head starts to swell up a little bit, and we start feeling ourselves as creative people, as musicians. And it's not just musicians, but I know majority of my audience is musicians, but I know there's that tendency to start feeling yourself, or like the old folks said, to start smelling yourself when you get to a certain level. And I just want to remind us that, let's not do that. Because one of the thoughts I said this morning in my reel on Instagram, it's like, it's better to allow God to exalt you rather than you exalt yourself. Because if you lift yourself up, you can also let yourself down, right? If you start thinking too highly of yourself, then when you fall, you're going to fall hard. You're going to fall flat on your face because you were thinking too highly of yourself to start with. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being confident in the skills that you have, and knowing you know what you're doing, knowing how to do what you do, and being confident. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I work really hard, but let that come across in your work, not in your mouth, right? Being confident, right? And even telling somebody, oh yeah, I know how to do that. That's fine. But we know the difference between that and arrogance and having this air about yourself that, like, nah, you need to be grateful that I'm here. And in some in some contexts, you be want to tell people like, nah, you need to be grateful that I'm here. I know, I get it. I get it. But I'm learning there's so much more that we can do when we come humble, and we're able to lead from our experiences and the things that we've done. When we have a humble spirit, a humble mentality about ourselves, when people find out how great you are, it blows them away in a certain area. When they find out that, oh, you can do that and you can do this, like, it gives people, you allow people to climb the ladder of respect for you rather than you demanding it right out of the gate. I don't have to tell you everything that I can do and that I can do well in order for you to respect me. My character alone should be enough that it merits your respect. Like my character, who I am, how I carry myself, way long before I do anything, something about me and the way I carry myself, the way I speak to you as a human being, the way I treat you as a human should speak louder about who I am than the thing that I do, or you so happen to find out that I did this, or you so happen to find out that I did that. I was talking to a good I was talking to a good friend of mine not too long ago, and he didn't know that we were some kind of way we got to talking about films and movies. I forgot what the conversation was about, but I just said it in passing in a conversation that, yeah, I had my song placed on this movie and such and such and such. So he said, wait, what? He's like, you got a song on a movie? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, I didn't know that. I was like, I didn't feel a need to say anything about it, but yeah, I got a song on a movie and on a few TV shows and that kind of thing. He said, man, I didn't know that, man. Why you didn't say that? And so it's like, we've been friends for years and I never brought it up, because in the context of what we were talking about, I'm like, what we talk about is not necessary for conversation. And there's a mutual respect for one another based on who we are and how we treat one another, way beyond who I am and what I can do and what I have to offer, because you're not looking for that. You ain't got no movie for me to put nothing on. So what difference did it make to you? And I get his point, what he was saying. He wants to be able to celebrate people that are in his circle that are doing this and that are doing that. And I get it and I respect that. But I feel like so often we feel like our resume has to go in front of us in every scenario. Now, there are scenarios that your resume needs to go in front of you. If you're trying to get a job or you're trying to land a particular thing, then of course, by all means, your accomplishments need to be known, because we need to know, do I need to trust this cat to give him my money to do this particular job? And in that regard, yeah, people need to know your resume. They need to know what you've done. But in general conversation, in meeting new people, it's not necessary to read off your resume. It's not necessary to walk around or to act like you are God's gift to this earth. Like, no, we are all God's gift to this earth. Like, you're special in your own way, but so am I. And just because I might have accomplished X, Y, and Z, that does not make you any less important than me. And I feel like because we don't value one another to that degree, it's hard for us to serve one another when I feel like you're beneath me. I feel like I've accomplished too much to serve you. No, you need to be serving me. Do you know who I am? You know who I just got off the phone with? You realize who just texted me? You realize who just liked my post? I'm somebody. And when we put our somebodyness in front of being kind and treating people with respect, you know what I'm saying? That me knowing I'm somebody should cause me to be more humble, because I don't have to prove anything now, because I'm 100% sure of who I am. So I don't have to treat you any less to make myself feel better. But again, we lose track of that because a lot of us, we've never felt like anything, and our music or our accomplishments are the only thing that validated us as a person. So we put those accomplishments out first because we want people to notice that we're somebody important. And the fact is, you were important before you ever accomplished anything. So regardless of whatever your accolades or this and that, it's great because we all should be on this journey where we're constantly developing, we're constantly improving, we're constantly making adjustments, and we're better than the person that we were yesterday. We're all on the same journey. So unless it's relevant to the conversation, there's no need for me to tell you everything that I've done. It has no bearing in our conversation. Like it don't make a difference, in other words. So if we can learn to keep that humility before us, now you start to find out. Now let me put stuff in context. There are opportunities that you meet new people and you have conversations with people, and some of these people might be your connection. So it might be necessary for you to not be too bashful into telling these people who you are and what you do, not trying to read your resume off, but sometimes in genuine general conversations, it's like, hey man, case in point, I was talking, I took my son to soccer practice. The first time we went to soccer practice, there was this other father with his son there, and I just, I'm a talker, obviously. So I just made conversation. I'm standing by the guy, and I'm seeing him out of my peripheral, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and just keep noticing this dude and not say anything to him. So I just made conversation with him, and we got to talking, and later on, I, asked what type of work he does, because we're talking back and forth about work and how far we have to travel and this type of thing. He tells me what he does, and then I tell him what I do. And so in those type of conversations, you just never know who you're standing next to. My brother, I like to use this quote. He said, you're always one person away from the person you're trying to know. So sometimes just having a conversation, and here's the thing, here's the trick with it, not having any agenda with your conversation. Just meaning well and just talking, being genuinely interested in the other person, not so you can tell them who you are and how important you are, but because I'm genuinely interested in who you are. I'm genuinely interested in knowing more about you. And because you are genuine about your approach to the conversation, now you come to find out you just so happen to be a person who does music, and this person just so happens to be a person who's looking for a person who does music, or I have a friend who's been looking for a musician. Bam. It's like it was organic. It wasn't forced. And so now the opportunity is there, and you didn't do anything. You didn't manipulate it. And it's not, your name is not on the line because you come across like you're just trying to get on, that kind of thing. So I think when we can come in humility and have a genuine interest in loving on people and serving people and knowing who people are, we can get a lot farther with that. We can get a lot farther with that. Yeah. So let me read a few of these comments. I see y'all chiming in. I love it. So let's see here. Mr. Waffles says, sometimes we got to eat a slice of humble pie. Yeah, sometimes we definitely got to eat a slice of humble pie. Charles says, my pop used to always say, you got to wash that pride down with some humility. Corny, but true. Yes, sir. You got to wash it down. Because that's the thing. It's like I said earlier, when you, just like the verse says, when you humble yourself, God can exalt you. But when you exalt yourself, chances are you're going to be humble. I heard this old saying, and it's a scripture too as well, but it's this old saying. It's taken from it. It says it's better to be axed up than to be axed down, and it's talking in reference to when you come into a place, don't always go for the higher seat. Take the lower seat. And if you're somebody special, if you're somebody important, whoever needs to recognize you, they'll know it. They'll ask you to come up, but don't just go up and sit yourself in a high seat, because somebody else more important than you might walk in and they're going to ask you, hey, I'm sorry, can you get back there and sit down somewhere? Because the person who's supposed to be sitting in the seat, they just walked in. So can you move? So it's better to come in humble and be asked up than to be asked down because you're trying to exalt or elevate yourself too soon. Right. Jose says, brother, what is your signal chain to record your bass? Your sound is incredible. Thank you so much, man. I'm simply running through my TC Electronic. I normally just use that to warm up the bass a little bit more. And like that thing, if you guys seen any of my old videos, that thing pretty much is set flat, but I just use it just to kind of warm up the bass just a little bit more, and then I run from that straight into my Studio Live AR16C, basically running direct from the amp. And so if I'm using my effects pedal, I'll be running through there and just kind of running my chain straight through my effects pedals, and then running straight into the ARC16 Studio Live. All right, so Mr. Waffle says, my dad always told me to stay humble because God gave you the gift and talent, and to use your talent for his glory and not your own. That's a really, really good thing to live by, because you can get more usage out of your gift that way. Because when we understand, like you said, God gave you the gift. When we understand, even if you don't believe, you understand that you're a steward over this, right? And how you steward anything matters. And the better you steward your gift, the better you increase your gift, right? The better you steward your stuff that you have, like your home, your car, your money, you get more of what you steward really well. So if you learn how to steward that gift really well, it increases. I didn't know I was practicing stewardship at a young age when I was working on his bass, and I was working on keyboard, I was working on guitar, I was working on drums, I was trying to play all of this stuff. I had no idea about stewardship. I just knew that I wanted to play. I wanted to be good. I could hear all these other people doing it, and in my mind, I felt like I could do it too. I can hear it. I was like, I could do that. And I didn't mean that in an arrogant way. It's like, I think I could sit down on this drum. I could figure that out. Now, I did struggle, and it was very, very difficult. Like recently, I probably in the last 8 years have played more drums than I've ever played. And that's just by me not having an agenda when I sit down. I just like to play. And I sit down and I just have a lot of fun playing the drums. As a byproduct, I've gotten a lot better on drums. Same thing with keys. I sit down. I don't play keys as much as I should, but when I do sit down, it's like I'm playing and I'm going through trying out ideas, especially when I'm producing and writing music, and I just hear stuff and I try it. And so because of that, it's like that gift is more and more enhanced, and I'm always listening. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, I'm always listening to the music. I'm always listening to my surroundings. I'm always listening to musicians who are around me. And I noticed the more that I've listened to these people who've inspired me over the years, the better my piano playing got. As a result, my bass playing got better. As a result, my guitar playing got better. My drumming got better, because when you surround yourself by things and people who are better than you, number one, that humble sweet potato pie, you're going to eat the whole pie. You're going to just eat one slice. You get around people who are farther along than you, then it's going to humble you down real good. And you're going to learn, okay, there's more to this thing. And you remain teachable. And when you remain teachable, you can learn. You're always in a position to learn. You understand and you realize, I don't know everything. I don't have it all figured out. And so now it puts you in a place of a student again. And if you remain a student, you're always growing. And if you're always growing, you know automatically there's nothing to be arrogant about, because I don't have it all figured out. I know what I know. Now, you're not going to take that from me. But I do also know that I don't have it all figured out, right? So, what is it? Cedric says, better to wait for an invitation to head the table than to be sent away in public disgrace. There it is. That's the one I was referencing. So yeah, he said Proverbs 25:7. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, it's so much to be said by humility, because pride comes before the fall, and God hates. It says in the verse before, in this, let me find this here. In the verse before, when you go to Proverbs 5 and let's see here, Proverbs 5 and Proverbs 1. Not Proverbs, I'm saying 1 Peter 5. I'm sorry, guys. 1 Peter 5 and verse 5 says, you younger men likewise be subject to your elders, and all of you clothe yourselves in humility toward one another. For God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. It's like, yeah, he against the proud. So if you're walking around with a lot of pride, do know a fall is coming. Do know that a fall is coming, because you're walking around with this arrogance, this cockiness. And I see it so much in the musician community. Obviously, that's the community that I'm the most connected to. and it's not long. You see a cat with his nose so high in the air. Like I always heard, I think my aunts and I think I remember my mom saying this when I was young. It's like you holding your nose so high up in the air. If it come a good rain, you gonna drown. It's like you better get your nose out of the air. Stop walking around with your head so high up in the air. Now hold your head up, not walking around in shame because unless you've done something shameful. You know what I'm saying? Like having your head up like this and just keeping your head up, not walking around like this, versus having your nose up in the air and you're looking down condescendingly on everybody. That's a completely different level of holding your head up. Now, I think lowering your head in humility, we talking about the level of the head. It's like lowering your head in humility. I understand and I realize that I'm not perfect. I have a long way to go, but I'm working on it and I'm trying, and I'm willing to help, and I'm willing to be of service to anybody that needs it. And that's that confident thing that I'm talking about. Being confident of this one thing, that he who began a good work in us, like I'm confident of that, but I'm not confident in my or arrogant rather in my own thing and who I think I am. It's like, no, I have to realize that it's not me. It's the one that's living on the inside of me who is allowing me this opportunity to do what I do. I've seen some of the greatest musicians at the height of their career. I mean, at the height of their skill level, something happens to them. They get struck with some type of illness, some type of sickness. And now it has to remind you to calm yourself down again because you started feeling yourself too much. Like, wait a minute. It's almost like God is reminding you, like, look, wait a minute. I'm the one who's allowing you to do this. I'm the one who's allowing you to be successful at this. So before you start sucking up all my glory, remember that it's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. The gifting is yours, and you're the steward over it. But don't make the mistake in thinking that people need to praise you for the gifting. It's not you who gave the gift. You're not the giver of every good and perfect gift. It comes from above. And I think when we send that energy back to him, if somebody gives you a compliment, man, thank you. To God be the glory. Let me make sure he gets that glory. I appreciate your compliment. I'm acknowledging that you said you like what I do, and I'm blown away by it. But at the same time, I understand that it's not my doing. Yes, I had to hone this gift. Yes, I had to put forth the effort. Yes, I had to put in the energy. But if you think it's you, set an alarm clock in the cemetery. Set it beside somebody who was cold when they was a musician and when they were playing. If you think it's all you, if you're arrogant enough to think that you're doing it, I put this work in, God ain't did nothing, and all this stuff. I had somebody comment on one of my posts a few weeks ago on Facebook, and they told me God ain't real, or God's don't. No, let me quote him correctly. God don't exist, and he said gods don't exist. I mean, you can believe what you want to. I'm not gonna argue with you, but be careful, because you want to get up in the morning, so that God that don't exist, hopefully, that one that don't exist allows you to get up in the morning. So I'm like, I'm gonna let you have your say, because there's freedom of speech around here, right? You can say what you want to say. That's your amendment to be able to say what you want to say, but be careful in what you say, because by your words you'll be justified, and also by your words you'll be condemned. So just be careful what you say when you talking, right? Because you don't get to control if you get up in the morning, right? We don't get to control that. So that humility, make sure we keep that humility at the forefront, because you realize that you are not the creator. You're not the maker. And I think you guys get the point there. All right. So he said it's better. Cedric says it's better to wait for an invitation. I think I already read that. Yeah. Okay. I got you. I don't know why it popped up twice, but got you. So anyway, guys, that's all I got. I just wanted to share that with you. I know that I gave way more than just this today, and so hopefully you guys are taking some away from this talk today, and hopefully this has been super, super helpful for you. I said I was going. What was this? I was going to share something. I think I already put it in the chat. But if you guys are interested in any of that stuff that I was playing, that play along that I was doing, it's available on JermaineMorgan.net. And no, that track isn't sold separately. It's sold with the jam pack. So if you just want the jam pack, it's like $19.99 on the website right now. If you want to go over there and get that whole jam pack, there's 6 tracks in there. Yes, it does come with sheet music and tab, and it comes with two MP3s. One will be with my bass, so you can hear what I did, and one will be without my bass, so you can jam to it. If you want to use that to post to your socials on Instagram, it's royalty free, so you won't get flagged if you use that to post to your socials. So have at it. Again, I just want to share with you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed all of this today. Oh yeah, if you can't see by the headstock, this is my 5-string jazz, starter bass. And if you don't have one already, go get it. And that's on the website as well. You'll see it in my shop. If you go to my shop tab, you can find that. All of this stuff is JermaineMorgan.net. Again, if you're not following me on Instagram, that's at JMorganBass on Instagram. Same thing on Twitter. I got to get better with my tweeting stuff because, yeah, I've been taking an L with Twitter, but I'm trying to do better. So if you're not following me on Twitter, same thing, at JMorganBass on Twitter. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. If you found this video helpful and resourceful, share it with somebody that needs to hear it. If you know a musician that's cocky and arrogant, share it with them. Don't even say nothing. Just send it to him. Just like, bro, you need to check this out. He was talking about some stuff that you can add to your solos and stuff. And don't even tell him. Just send it to him, right? So just send this to 10 people in a group chat or something like that, right? So anyway, thank you guys so much. Again, I appreciate, all jokes aside, I appreciate you for hanging out with me today. I always appreciate you for watching these videos, for sharing, for liking, for commenting, and for being here. May you guys have a blessed day, and I'm out. Peace.